This is a Regent question from the June 2017 Regent. It's question number 19. There are many ways to solve this equation. We're trying to solve this long equation for x. There's three ways that we're going to go through. The first way is algebraically, solving it for x. The second way is graphically, graphing it on the calculator and seeing where x is. And the last way is the easiest way, just guess and check by plugging in the answer choices. The first way we're going to do it is algebraically. The question is 4 times x minus 7 is equal to 0.3 times x plus 2 plus 2.11. So the first thing, we want to solve this equation for x. The first thing we're going to do is get rid of these parentheses by distributing the 4 over the x and by distributing the 4 over negative 7, by distributing the 0.3 over the x and distributing the 0.3 over the 2. So 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 7 is negative 28. And that's the whole left side of the equation. The right hand side of the equation, 0.3 times x is 0.3x. 0.3 times 2 is 0.6. And we still have to bring down that 2.11. 2.11. Now we have variables with coefficients and we have constants. Let's bring all the constants to one side and bring all the variables to the other side. So first let's just combine the constants that are on the right hand side. 4x minus 28 is equal to 0.3x. Let's combine the 0.6 and the 2. 0.6 plus 2.11 is 2.71. Now let's bring all the constants to the right hand side and all the variables to the left hand side. So we're going to add 28 to both sides to clear it away from the left hand side and bring it to the right hand side. 4x is equal to 0.3x. 2.71 plus 28 is 30.71. Now we want to move all the x's to the left hand side, so minus 0.3x and minus 0.3x. We're going to have to continue on next column. 4 minus 0 is 3.7, so we have 3.7x is equal to 30.7. Now we want to get x alone because we're solving for x. So we're going to divide away x's coefficient, divide by 3.7, divide by 3.7, and we're left with x is equal to 30.7 divided by, let's do that on the calculator. 30.7 divided by 3.7 is, it's a very long decimal, it's repeating actually, but let's round it off. Since we see that the answer choices are either whole numbers or they're rounded off to the nearest tenth, let's round it off to the nearest tenth. This is x is equal to 8.3, which is choice 1, which is the answer to the question. Now you can, of course, plug back in. Wherever you see an x, you can plug in 8.3 and 8.3 to make sure you got the correct answer. In this case, x is equal to 8.3, and it is the correct answer. Another way you could have solved this question is by graphing it on your calculator. Let's clear out what we have here. And we're going to enter in the whole left-hand side of the equation as y sub 1. We're going to enter the whole right-hand side of the equation as y sub 2. And we're going to see where they intersect. Wherever they intersect, that's what x is equal to. The x coordinate of where they intersect is what x is equal to. So let's type that in. 4 times x minus 7, this is the x button, x minus 7. And then the next line for the right-hand side, 0.3 times x plus 2 plus 2.11. And we're going to do zoom 6 over here is z standard. Zoom standard means that the graph goes the maximum x is 10, the maximum y is 10, the minimum x is negative 10, and the minimum y is negative 10. So we're going to see if we're able to see the intersection on this graph. If we can't, then we'll go to window and we'll adjust our coordinates. But let's do zoom 6 and see if we could see where they intersect. And we can. But we don't know exactly where they intersect. We see that they intersect somewhere right over here. but we don't know the exact coordinates of where they intersect. We're assuming that this is the first time we're solving the problem, and we didn't already solve it algebraically. So we're going to have the calculator tell us exactly where they intersect. If we do second trace, we'll get into what this little blue word says, calc. This is the calc menu. If we scroll down, press the down arrow, down arrow, down arrow, to 5, intersect, we can have the calculator tell us exactly where two lines intersect. They want first curve, which is the first line. So let's make sure that we're on the first line. Since the words on the bottom, since the numbers x and y are on the bottom are in blue, we know that we're on the first curve. So even if we don't see our little cursor, we could just press enter because we know we're on the first curve. Now, second curve. The calculator wants to know what the second curve is. We see that the numbers are in red, and that is our second curve. We also see that our cursor is on the second curve, so let's press enter. Now the calculator wants us to predict, to tell it where we think it intersects. So let's scroll over to there. And right over there is where they intersect. That's where we guess it intersects. Let's press enter. The calculator tells us that the x-coordinate of the intersection is x is equal to 8.3, which is what we solved when we solved it, what we got when we solved it algebraically, and that's the answer to the question. If we hadn't solved it before, this would be an easy way to do it. Another way we could solve the question is by plugging in each of the answer choices and seeing which one makes the equation true. We can have the calculator do that for us. Let's go away from the graph by pressing second mode for quit. And we're going to start with choice 1, which we do know is the answer, but let's say we didn't know that choice 1 was the answer. We're going to do 8.3, and we're going to do stow for store. We're having the calculator store that, and if we press alpha stow, you'll see there's a little green X over it, right over here. That means that when we press the alpha button, whatever's in green, that's what we're really clicking on. So when we press the stow button again, we're really getting an X. So we're storing 8.3 as X. Now, whenever we type in x, the calculator is going to evaluate it as 8.3. So let's type in the equation. 4 times x, so let's do alpha stow for x, minus 7, close parentheses, and see what that gives us. That gives us 5.2. Now let's see what would happen if we evaluated the right-hand side of the equation with x being equal to 8.3. So that's 0.3 times alpha stow for x plus 2, close parentheses, plus 2.11. Since these two are equal, when we evaluate the left-hand side and the right-hand side, for both of them we got 5.2. We know that choice 1 is the answer. Had we plugged in choice 2, had we stored x as 8.7 and then evaluated the left-hand side and the right-hand side, they would not have been equal. So in this case, you don't have to evaluate the other choices. If the answer would not have been choice 1, if the answer would have been choice 3, you would have had to try choice 1, choice 2, and then choice 3 would have been equal. And that would have been the answer. But in this case, the answer is choice 1.